All right. Good afternoon. My name is Greg Toornman. I'm Global Vice President for Materials Management, Logistics, Freight, and as of yesterday, Demand Planning. I'll ask a question. Who's ever heard of AGCO Corporation? Okay, that's about the normal, about 8%. So what we'll do now is provide a little video, because everyone likes a video in the afternoon after lunch, that will introduce you to AGCO, and then I'll continue on. Sandeep, can you turn the volume up a little bit? I think you got it on mute. So I'll do a little narrative. This is the utilization of Google Glass that we utilize in our factory and in field service. Some of the example of the online machine information that's available to the operators, of which I'll talk about in a little bit. How that then applies to the exact application of certain products where it's needed, and thus reducing waste. And normally the Morgan Freeman voice is a little bit better than mine, but I'll do my best, as we do every day. So AGCO, as you can see, is agriculture manufacturing equipment producer. We are the third largest in the world. Most of our major brands you may not have not heard about because 80% of our business is outside the U.S. The range of agricultural equipment that we produce is everything from the initial seed and seed sorting and storage, through the agricultural planting, through the tillage, through the combine harvesting, and in the end, the actual storage of the grains. And
a farmer growing corn in America.
There you go.
Before the sun rises, before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each one with a desire to make a difference, no matter where they live or what they produce, just like AGCO. At AGCO, we constantly ask, how can we do more, offer more for our customers, our dealers, and ourselves? How can we innovate further, faster? How can we leverage technology to be more efficient, to help our customers be more productive? How can we deploy the right solutions to the right place at the right time? Driven by our vision to provide high-tech solutions for farmers feeding the world, we operate with accountability, integrity, respect, team spirit, and transparency. This is AGCO. We are proud of the work we do, and even more proud to be working side by side with the world's finest farmers. We transform raw materials to produce world-class, award-winning solutions every farming operation needs. At the end of the day, we all have the same goal. Whether you're a design engineer in Finland, an assembly line worker in France, a farmer growing corn in America, or wheat in Germany, together, we'll feed the world.
All right, good job, Sandeep. You get an A+ on that one for fast recovery, which is part of our normal day, right? We deal with all of those things that just happen, not as planned. Okay, thanks for that. So a little bit about AGCO and, all right, this is the second knuckleball of the day. Good thing it wasn't right after coffee in the morning. Might be a little more. So a little bit about us in terms of size and scope. So we just reported this morning our 2018 revenues. We did 9.3 billion US. We have 54 manufacturing plants located across the globe. And probably the reason most of you have never heard of AGCO is almost 80% of our business is done outside the US. Okay, 20,000 employees worldwide, and we're a relatively young organization. We were born in 1990. With initial revenues of 200 million. So as you can see, we've been a bit busy over the last 9 years. And the way that we've been busy is taking care of our customers through innovation and providing the best service in the industry. The major brands that we have, Challenger, we bought Caterpillar's ag equipment back in 2002. Fendt, which is known as the, let's call it the Rolls Royce in the agricultural business in terms of productivity, innovation, and call it what everybody in Europe wants to have. GSI is a acquisition that we've done in about 5 years ago, which handles grain storage and protein feeding systems for chicken and swine. Massey Ferguson, many of you may have known. And then Valtra is a Scandinavian and Brazilian brand that we support. So a little bit of a footprint overview. And why am I sharing some of this with you? So this is really, for us, an explanation of how we've approached connectivity within our dealer and customer base, and to understand that truly we want to share, and we usually share the scope of what that means on a geographic level. With that, it gives a little bit of insight to the level of complexity that we're dealing with, not just by the locations, but also by the 4,200 dealers and distributors that we have in our network across the globe. So as you're trying to implement new offerings, whether it's value add, service, whatever it may be, you have to take into account a very wide range of customer capabilities in terms of understanding technology, cultural ways of operating, as well as the level of innovation that an agricultural market may have. And I say if you were to compare agriculture in Africa to that in North America, you would find a huge difference in the level of innovation that those products have. Nonetheless, it's something that we need to basically build and develop our solutions around. So now what you're here to hear about is about connectivity and what that means and how we've been able to do it from a dealer service level and fleet maintenance. So for AGCO, there's really three elements that we're looking and have looked at trying to improve the way of working. Our own internal needs, which you can see here on the left side, asset tracking, feedback on how machines are operating, understanding how engine dynamics work, where we can improve efficiency, et cetera. A lot of really good information that may or may not always be of interest to the customer. For them and the customer, in our view, is two separate. One is the dealer, who we sell to typically, that in turn then sells to the retail customer. Those two may or may not have the same set of needs, but they do have one common need, and that's keeping their product up and running when they plan to have it up and running, right? Which is critical and where a lot of this value add comes into play. So when we talk connectivity, there's a huge wide range of connectivity out in the market today. And not every one of those elements or offerings may be of interest to our dealers as well as our retail customers or to AGCO. And what we found is that as you're developing, or as we were developing our offering, we maybe didn't think about it in the right context up front, right? We thought that everybody would want everything, and that wasn't the case. So what we've had to do is really get down and understand in greater levels of detail in terms of try and fail, right? You try to do something, you talk with a number of customers, you talk with a number of dealers across the globe, and you find out that, hey, maybe everybody thinks this is the way to go. Then you roll out and do a bunch of marketing campaigns, you train a bunch of dealers, and you implement a lot of technology that isn't for free, and what you find out is maybe you missed the ball, right? And part of that then is going back to the drawing board and understanding what is it that maybe we missed? What is it that maybe we didn't understand? Some of that is through internal efforts to learn. Others is utilizing outside information or outside partners, which in the recent years has allowed us to accelerate our overall process cycle time to be much more effective. It's to go and find rather than try to develop it yourself. Some examples of that would be when we look at, on the left axis here is the benefit to a customer, a dealer, or to AGCO. And then on the bottom axis here, you've got connectivity. So a customer that is looking for just tracking machine hours or trying to track where their asset is, you don't need to basically have a real-time connectivity that's pinging your asset every 15 minutes. Maybe once a day, maybe once a week is going to be enough for your asset tracking. Maybe when you're looking at your machine hours, maybe one time per day, okay? The cost equation to have this level of hardware connectivity to your SaaS, call it monitoring solution, is much lower than if basically you want to have a real-time satellite connection with a sugarcane harvester that's looking at your asset by the second in order to optimize yield, in order to understand what level of yield's coming into the machine and what level of service and requirements that machine may have to have and up, okay? Make sense? So with that, be open, try to understand what the level of need is to your customer versus the value that the customer sees in paying for that service. And it's not always the same. So, we missed one there? No. Okay, so within that, what we've done over the last, let's call it 10 years when we first started to do this, is we've had a couple of, let's call it upgrades. When we started back in 2009 with our, what we call Ag Command 1, we really focused on the customers that were operating the big fleets. Someone that may have, 100 tractors out in a sugarcane plantation or in a very large soybean field in Brazil, in the Mato Grosso, or in Russia. And what we did at that point is we really didn't include how is it that the dealer could benefit and partake in that value proposition. Because the end user, the dealer was, or not the dealer, the retail customer business were the ones that were actually using the information to make their decisions. And subsequently, the dealer was left out. So for a business that sells through distribution, we really alienated a key part of that overall business that was also part of selling that added service value, right? So there was nothing in it for them at that time. We evolved into that to what we call our Ag Command number 2, which we launched, I believe it was 2013. And with that, we did our lessons learned. We did a bunch more voice of the customer, both customers, the retail as well as the dealer, to get a better understanding of the different types of connectivity and service that those customers may want to have. And what we found was in certain cases where you have say a dairy farmer that's growing hay that wants to be able to track where their big bale of hay is, they may only want to track that thing one time per week. Another customer, like a sugarcane harvester, like I mentioned earlier, they might want real time. And with that, the cost that customer is willing to pay for that perceived value is at a different monetary value, right? And with that, don't try to upsell your customer something that they don't necessarily really need. Because at the end of the day, that comes back to bite you somewhere in time. So where we're at right now with something that's just recently launched is what we call AGCO Connect. And with that, we've been able to integrate all of our, call it lessons learned over the last 9.5 years and develop something that our customers could utilize from what we call data lakes. So basically, as the machines are operating, we're collecting all types of information in terms of soil, the nutrients within the soil, the moisture content, as well as the machine activities. And with that, store some of that data. There's another series of data that might be interesting to a dealer or a customer that would be accessible on a handheld app, right? And what we found is that the handheld apps are very much more utilized than the typical laptop data or mass amount of data analysis that a farmer, and you know farmers, they're really not into a whole lot of massive data computing, right? They pay people to do their taxes and other things, but they just want to have their machines run. But with a handheld that's configurable, they can take a look at their machine hours. They can look at their operating efficiencies and understand that very easily. And as a result, the acceptance level has been very, very interesting with this. So in the pilot that we ran in North America over 2018 with this new AGCO Connect, we've actually had an 80% penetration level for each of our finished goods that we've sold into the region. And then we've asked the customers that have been with us a number of years, what do you view that's so different with the AGCO Connect versus the previous 2 versions? And they said, it's simple to understand, it's simple to utilize, and it provides me value. And at the end of the day, for us, that was the light bulb went off in making that the data that was being assessed and analyzed easy for them to utilize. And let me give you some other examples of that, okay? So if you're a farmer working in a field, you know that things happen to your machine, no different than construction. But with the level of connectivity and IoT that we have in our machines today, we basically have ongoing diagnostics within the machines that we can understand to detect any type of failure prior to it happening. So if you've got a gear that's operating inside the front axle, we can basically say, okay, you've got 1,000 hours on this thing. We're starting to sense vibration, which means maybe there's a chip in one of the gear teeth. And from within that, we behind the scenes start positioning the repair parts when it will arrive at the dealer, and then the customer gets a signal to say, we recommend that you have a preventive maintenance for this issue. The dealer has available repair time capacity on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Would you like a machine dispatched Thursday morning to pick up your asset? Okay, very simple to understand. You don't need a PhD in mathematics to basically be able to read that in most cases. And our customers see a huge level of value in that. Again, back it to the customer needs, using the machines when they plan to use it, right? And during different parts of the year, there's different levels of severity. Now, some people would say, well, you're letting your customers know that there's a problem with a product. Well, yeah, these are machines that are out, digging in the dirt, running over rocks, bringing up rocks into a combine harvesting processing system. These things happen in agriculture. And it's not as much that the machine broke down or that it will break down. It's how fast you get it back up and running. That's what generates value for our customers. So in creating the applications, in creating the easy to understand screens on their handhelds or on their laptops, we enable them to achieve that. Keep their machines running when they need them to run. At the end of the day, that's what's helping our company that was just $200 million 19 years ago, now up to $9.3 billion. And we're not done. So within that, there's all kinds of data that we're able to capture, right? We can pull all kinds of bunches and bunches of data. And I've talked to a number of service providers that are here, and a number of other peer groups that are here, and they view that, we can help you with all that data. I'm sure they can. But at the end of the day, helping us will only be realized if our customers can see the benefit from that. And for those of you, again, that know farmers, sometimes are a bit change averse. So they want to basically try something new, see that it brings value to them, see that they basically have confidence in what that new solution is providing to them that they're paying for. Oh, by the way, many of you don't follow the agriculture industry, right now commodity prices are really low and it's tough for farmers to make money, right? So it's critical that whatever they invest in provides a real value to them, that they can see it at a monetary level. And things like cost per operating hour or downtime are real things that they can either take to the bank or not have to go to the bank to pay for. So by doing that, we actually help our customers in a very difficult time in the agricultural market space. So with that, and hopefully I didn't talk too fast, the lessons learned on this is customize your technology to your customer segments. And within that, not all of your customers are the same, as many of you know. So which means take a step backward to say, is what I'm trying to develop solving all of their needs, so some of their needs, or none of their needs, right? And there'll be a ton of those opportunities. Develop people inside your organization as well as your dealer networks and your customers that can be kind of your proof of concept or your voice of your customer when it comes to new innovation and technology. Now that's got to be balanced with the industry that you're in, right? If you're sitting out in Silicon Valley, you've probably got a different set of customer needs or willingness to take risk than a farmer in the middle of Nebraska or the Ukraine. I can tell you that with a whole lot of confidence. So make sure that you've got the right type of people that can explain that value to your customer. 3, build the most flexible infrastructure with the most apps, right? And understand how your customers basically are easily able to use technology and data that's put in front of them. And that may mean that there's a whole different series of things that you've got to look at, but that should come out of your VOC if you do it the right way. And finally, start by solving some of the smaller problems. Don't try to cure world hunger. By the way, I think we've done a pretty good job of that together with many of our colleagues. But in many cases, you can't do that all in one swoop. Data and technology is changing too fast today to try to always solve everything with one solution. Pick your battles, choose your fights, and go after them and deliver value to your customers that will enable them to gain confidence in what you're doing on their behalf and the value that you're selling and the margin that you're bringing to your organization. I think that's it.